The only certainties in life are death and taxes. This is a very old quote, and now we're going to add something to it. Ground balls is one of those things. So death, taxes, and ground balls are all absolutely inevitable. When you take a look at what happens in real life in Major League Baseball, this is from 2002 to 2014, a 13-year study. In every single case, ground balls is the highest percentage that are hit. And this is all major leaguers at over the course of a year. So they range anywhere from 43 to 45%. And in 2017, the ground ball rate was 46.3%, which they actually bragged a little bit about being down from the previous year. So I think it was even higher than that in 2016. I didn't look. But at the end of the day, with all of the hitters and all of the experts trying to tell you to just swing up and eliminate ground balls, in reality, they're making the ground ball rate go up by trying to make them extinct. It's always going to be a higher ground ball rate when you look at the overall picture. Now, granted, there are some hitters who have managed to flip this a little bit and have maybe a 42% fly ball rate or 44% at times. And so they flip-flop this a little bit by going to the extreme and trying to hit a lot more fly balls. But at the end of the day, the average is going to be about 40% up, about 40% down, and about 20% in the middle. That's just the way round contact happens. So one of the things that's really important to clear up is that not all ground balls are bad, even though they tell you that. Even when they smoke a ground ball at 100 miles an hour, they tell you that all fly balls are better than all ground balls. Ground balls are bad. So what I did was take a look at hard ground balls and just to see. And in this, 225 hitters. Now, just to put that in perspective, 280 hitters is a typical night when every team is playing. That's how many starting hitters there will be. So virtually everyone hit 400 or higher, the average being about 550. And the top being 750 on hard ground balls. When you look at this simple diagram, and this is Cody Bellinger, when you look at the fly balls, in fact, you can go all the way down to about this 45-degree line, which is right about there, around 40 degrees, up. All those are virtually outs. Whereas when you look at the ground balls, you see a lot of hits scattered in there. And all of these in this area are going to be those 100-mile-an-hour ground balls. So ground balls are not bad. What you are constantly told is the correlation between fly balls and ground balls compared to each other using fly ball stats. And a couple other things I'm going to kind of clue you in on. Not all fly balls are good, because these 90-mile-an-hour fly balls, which if all fly balls are better than all ground balls, then 90 miles an hour is enough to hit it out of the yard. It should be good. But when you really look at it, not one hitter in the big leagues hit 400 at the time of the study on fly balls hit, and it's for the same reason. On fly balls hit at 90 miles an hour or less, in other words, if they're not leaving the yard, they are outs. Basically, outs. All of the balls in that range are basically outs. There were only 10 hitters at 200 batting average on those balls. So they're sacrificing a lot in order to get these few to happen. So when you look at this, you got to make sure that you're comparing apples to apples. In my mind, it's kind of like comparing a plane to a car. If you are using flying stats alone, then the car is going to look terrible because it doesn't fly. And ground ball stats, we shouldn't look at ground balls and compare them to fly balls. They're all a package deal. That's just the way it goes. So when you look at every one of these above 40 degrees, they're basically outs. And the balls that they're calling fly balls, these are called fly balls, when in my book, those are a lot closer to that perfect line drive. But at the end of the day, everyone has their way that they're going to look at it. But the nature of what's going on with a round ball, round bat is never going to change. There's only three possibilities when you swing up at a ball. No matter how you swing at it, you could swing down at the ball, and you're still going to hit it in three possibilities. Perfectly in the center, a little below, or a little above. the center or a lot above the center, as we saw in the video with Bellinger versus Verlander, and that's what this is from. He had a lot of balls that he swung on and missed because you just don't hit the ball very often when your swing line is 20 degrees upward and the pitch line is 4 or 5 degrees flat. There's only one moment in time when those two things make contact. And if you're just a little early or late, then the result is foul balls, et cetera, that we covered in that other video. So those are the only possibilities of things that happen. Here's the rub, though. If you hit it perfect, that's great. Everybody's great when they hit it perfect. You just don't hit it perfect very often. When you miss it, that's the key. And what happens with this 20-degree upward swing line is you hit balls straight up and straight down fairly often, and a lot of balls in between. And those, especially the ones up, are virtually outs. So great hitters, a great launch angle concept, eliminates the pop-ups and the toppers. That's the bottom line. And it focuses all of the attention in balls that have a chance to be hits. And that's in this basic range. And so if your launch angle is going upwards, trying to hit every ball at 25 to 30 degrees, I can guarantee you your consistency, your contact consistency, is not as high as it should be. So if you're following these kinds of things, bring your hands in, and that increases bat speed. They use the ice skater example. If you're bending the lead elbow and trying to extend it through impact like a boxer, if you're getting your front foot down early, if you're riding your front leg for adjusting to off-speed pitches, if you're staying back behind the ball, trying to spin on the back foot, if you're trying to push straight down into the ground to create more power, if you are rotating on your back foot to try to create more rotational power, if you're looking away and adjusting in, or looking fastball and adjusting off speed, and you are trying to keep it simple with a one approach fits all, and more importantly, if you're just saying no to ground balls and trying to hit the ball at 25 to 30 degrees, I guarantee you your swing line is not, your swing is not at max exit velocity, and you are not maxing out your launch angle. If these things apply to you, then you're at a point where you need to test to find out how efficient your swing is for sure. If you're looking at it like this, this is basically the range of the balls that happen in Cody Bellinger's swing. And would I tell him to change? No, not necessarily. As long as pitchers are going to keep cooperating and throwing pitches at 10 degrees towards the bottom of the strike zone, then his swing line starts to kind of make some sense. But when pitchers get smart and they stop doing that and start elevating fastballs like Verlander in that example, you're going to see this concept go by the wayside, and strikeouts will increase even more than they have. There's a whole thing about spin characteristics that happen when you change this launch angle also. And that's something that we'll get into in another thing. In other words, when a hitter starts to swing up and then they hit a straight line drive, it actually is going to have topspin. And so it's not going to carry as good as a line drive that attacks and hits that ball at a lower swing line, with a lower swing line. So does your swing measure up? You have no idea until you test it. And not just test it with exit velocity and launch angle, etc., but truly understanding what all those things mean.